more confident than I've ever been that TikTok will keep going. I've been pretty optimistic from the beginning, and I say this also as a TikTok user, that TikTok's not going anywhere and has always been too big to fail.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Make That Make Sense, the game show that breaks down the weekly stories shaping the business of media. Let's introduce our guest. Today we're going to welcome on Andrew Wallenstein. Andrew is the Chief Media Analyst and President at Variety Intelligence Platform, a subscription subsidiary of Variety that provides market research on the media business. He was previously the co-editor-in-chief at Variety. Andrew is also an on-air contributor at NPR for their show All Things Considered. And before that, he was a digital media editor at The Hollywood Reporter. Super excited to get Andrew's opinions and insights on the week in news, so let's get him on. Andrew, welcome to Make That Make Sense.
Good to be with you.
A lot of stuff happening this week and a lot of stuff I want your insights on. So let's get to the rules and let's get it going. How does that sound?
Let's do it.
Make that make sense. We go through one headline, one tweet, and one deal in 15 minutes. Each section, being the headline, deal, and tweet, will last 3.5 minutes. You'll then have 1 minute to answer each trivia question, and all topics are from the last 10 days, and in today's case, from just the last couple of days. All right, should we get to our headline?
Get to it.
So many things are happening around the TikTok ban. It's hard to go 12 hours without a new update. I want to hear all your different perspectives on this, from last minute potential buyers to what the Biden administration could be possibly thinking about doing. Give me your general perspective on the TikTok ban and what you think the aftermath of it could be.
Well, you said 12 hours. I'd say it's more like 12 seconds. This one keeps changing by the minute. And I think last indication is that the Biden administration is going to drop this in the Trump administration's lap. And I think the Trump administration is probably even more determined to find a solution here that will keep TikTok up and running. Will there be a disruption come Sunday? I don't know, but I'm more confident than I've ever been that TikTok will keep going. I've been pretty optimistic from the beginning, and I say this also as a TikTok user, that TikTok's not going anywhere and has always been too big to fail, though I think the national security concerns have been very valid from the beginning. Now it's really a question of what does divestiture look like if divestiture is truly going to happen. And I'm very curious to get into the details of that, who the owner is going to be. I'm still kind of freaked out by the notion, and I think it's largely been discredited, but I'll believe it when I see it, that Elon Musk could somehow combine X and TikTok. Frankly, I'd rather the Chinese government just continue to operate it. I think that's a lesser evil. But, who is going to take this on is going to be absolutely fascinating. Various names have been floated. I couldn't even hazard a guess here, but I'm actually surprised that there haven't been even more names in the mix in terms of who would want to take this on, because TikTok is such a fabulous brand. I guess it's a question of, you get to hold on to that algorithmic secret sauce that has made this platform as sticky as it is, because if you don't, perhaps TikTok isn't quite worth as much as it is. I would argue, even if you don't have that algorithmic secret sauce, it's still pretty incredible. But this is going to be one fascinating story to watch play out in the next month or so.
If you could think about if you were, obviously the head of TikTok, what would be the ideal scenario? Obviously, the ideal scenario is for it to not be banned, of course. But who would be your ideal seller? What would be your ideal thing to happen in the next couple of days outside of it not getting banned?
I think you want to find the ideal steward for your company, a owner that can really continue the incredible momentum that this company has already achieved worldwide. And I think, frankly, the story of TikTok is they've actually barely really scratched the potential that this company has achieved in a very short time. I think there's so much more this company can do when you look at especially what it's done on the commerce side.
Well,
I
TikTok
think
Shop, of course. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's really perhaps the next layer of growth for TikTok. And, from there, it could be sort of like the next Amazon. I mean, who
Yeah.
knows what could be next for TikTok on commerce alone. And from there, when you think also about what apps are like in Asian countries, in China, where the whole concept of the super app, where it's not just about video, it's about everything in one, which
Mm.
is not really something you see in the U.S. market. TikTok could have been poised to be that in the U.S. market, perhaps more than anything else we've seen in the U.S. market. It's for as dominant as these social brands are in the US market, you could argue we haven't even seen true dominance yet.
Mm. It's going to be a fascinating month ahead and a couple of days ahead. So glad to hear insights, and we'll keep tracking it. Are we ready to get on to our tweet?
Keep moving.
So this one did pretty well on Twitter for obvious reasons. I want to get a little bit more into the rights and the media rights implications of this, given that you're on the show. First of all, is this even legal for, I mean, explain to me the legal implications of this. What are other applications of other people doing this? What do you make of this?
I mean, A, I thought it was hilarious. B, I think it is really clever. Is it legal outside of, in every country? I'm not sure. But the weird thing is like, I kind of am tempted to take this seriously as
Hmm,
like, could this possibly actually open up a whole new lane of rights exploitation?
sure.
Because when you think of what I would call sort of like the Robloxification of things, where like, there is a young audience that kind of likes, I mean, I think this is completely absurd and I would never watch anything like this, but there is a younger generation that does like this kind of thing. And we've seen already in the US with some various major sporting events, we've seen players like Paramount and ESPN that have experimented with this kind of thing. And I'm not saying it's the biggest deal in the world, but I don't know, maybe this kind of entertainment where, animation in a live recreation of sports is actually a real thing.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if what looks like a funny stunt could actually turn out to be a whole new lane of rights exploitation. Who knows?
No, you bring up a great point about some of this already being tested in the US. For people that don't know, I think it was on Monday Night Football or on some NFL broadcasts, they did like a Madden version of this. From a media executive perspective, what is the long-term goal of an animated broadcast? Is it, just reaching a younger audience? Are there different opportunities for distribution? How would you kind of look at that?
I think you just said it. It's exactly going for a younger audience. When Disney takes its Toy Story characters and have them, representing the action in a football game. I mean, when I say it, it sounds beyond absurd. But when people my 16-year-old's age or younger that's the thing that makes them tune into a game that they otherwise wouldn't care about, that's the win.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put you, I guess, on the spot here. What is a sports event that you would like to see animated next that you think would be most entertaining?
I'm gonna nothing, because again, to me, it's completely insane.
Of
The
course.
whole point of sports is to see it in the flesh. So I wholeheartedly reject this, and this is just one of those like I am an old man and I don't understand and I must pass.
Hey, there's different tastes for everybody, and sure
Different
there'll be
strokes for different folks.
of course. All right, let's get on to our deal. So this was a big one that hasn't gone through yet, but Bloomberg reported it the other day. For context for our audience, their current deal with ESPN, meaning UFC, was around $450 million. So this is about a little bit over a double of that valuation. Does this make sense to you? Are you surprised by this number? And then who do you think the most likely bidders are going to be? Do you think we'll see Netflix get into the race, other streaming services? How do you look at that?
Well, let's first of all just say what this is. This is the next big sports rights deal.
Yeah.
Um, to some degree, the doubling of the sum, I'm almost wondering if that's going to end up too conservative a number. When you look at, the last big rights deal, which was audacious in its own right, where the NBA, I think, managed to sort of triple the sum, maybe it was even more. You're wondering whether a doubling is too conservative, and perhaps it's not just about like, oh, okay, well, if the NBA triples, the UFC could double. It's not about that. It's about the fact that there's so many bidders in the marketplace. They're going to want to take this away from ESPN, and ESPN is going to want to hold on to this really badly
Yeah.
because this is a big year for them as they make the big move to streaming. So UFC is very important, and yet you've got Netflix is going to want to make a splash. They've already got WWE, which is the same company that holds UFC, which is that TKO group. This is Ari Emanuel's company. Amazon could be an aggressive bidder here. YouTube could be a bidder here. And by the way, and again, sheer speculation on my part, but there was a New York Times story this week talking about how the Saudi Arabian government is preparing to put $1 billion investment behind the British sports streamer DAZN, which to me, if all of a sudden DAZN's got even deeper pockets than Len Blavatnik, maybe they're going to suddenly come into this. So to me, it's sort of a perfect storm for like double value. Maybe UFC could command even more than that.
Yeah.
By the way, who's to say that UFC is just going to go to one partner? Because it seems more and more that these deals get sliced and diced among a number of partners. Maybe ESPN is going to have to let go of some of this. Maybe we'll see an ESPN Netflix split, for instance.
Tell me if this has any correlation or I'm crazy. Obviously, last week we had Dana White join Meta's board, which, given how much of a Trump supporter and Trump loyalist that Dana White is for Trump, and now we're seeing Meta removing their fact-checking policies. Do you think that Dana White's involvement with Meta could have anything to do with a higher valuation metric?
I'm sorry, a higher valuation of what?
A higher valuation for UFC. Do you think him being involved in Meta could have any impact at any higher valuation?
It doesn't hurt. I hate to say it. It doesn't hurt, but I don't really know ultimately.
All right. Well, should we go into trivia?
Let's do it.
All right. So true or false? In 2024, the average number of hours U.S. consumers spent watching movies each month was higher than the number of hours spent watching short form videos.
I'm gonna say false.
It's actually true. Funny enough.
What? Get out of
It's
here.
actually true. Yeah. All right, should we go to our second one?
Watching movies both in theaters and at home?
That I'm not sure of. That might be a technicality.
Well, I, I,
Yeah.
I throw this one out.
Okay. All right, second
What's your
question.
source here? What's your source? Where's this data from?
The good old internet.
Oh, okay. Well, if the internet says it's true, then it must be
Of
true.
course. All right, second one. Guess that company. This company was acquired in 2005 by News Corp. They actually created a record label and they eventually sold to Justin Timberlake.
MySpace.
There we go. There we go. Andrew, can't thank you enough for coming on the show this week and kind of doing a unique format. Really appreciate your insights, and especially with the TikTok one, we'll have to see what comes to fruition in the next couple of weeks and months with that. But really, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Andrew.